Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good evening to all of my students. Okay, so today we are going to continue our lecture on chapter 2, which is instrumentation and sampling technique. Okay, so I hope all of you are ready to continue our open and distance learning. So let me recap on what we have learned on chapter 1. Okay, basically as hygiene technician, you need to conduct a chemical exposure monitoring at the factory, and you need to identify the contaminant that you are facing. For example, whether it is in gas, vapor or particulate. And in particulate, we have several types, which is dust. We have respirable dust, we have inhalable dust, we have fume, mist and smoke. Okay, so in chapter 2, we're going to learn what is the instrumentation and sampling technique for vapor, gas and particulate. Okay, this is the outline of chapter 2, which is 2.1 Introduction to various sampling method. 2.2 Type of instrumentation, which consists of basic principle of direct reading device and integrated sampling device. 2.3 Direct reading device, which is principle and application of direct reading instrument. 2.4 Integrated sampling device, which we learn on the principle and assembly train. And 2.5, which is passive sampling, we will learn on its principle. So this video is about 2.1, which is the introduction to various sampling method. Okay, this is the course learning outcome. So at the end of this module, I hope that all of the students should be able to differentiate basic principle of direct reading device and integrated sampling device, describe the principle and application of direct reading, describe the principle and assembly of integrated sampling device, and describe the principle of passive sampling. Okay, 2.1 is the introduction to various sampling method. Okay, so first of all, why hygiene technician needs to do a chemical exposure monitoring to the factory? It is because it has been stated in the regulation that all the employer, which is the head of the company, shall ensure that the exposure of employees to chemical hazards to help is monitor accordance with an approved method of monitoring and analysis. Basically, the employer needs to follow the approved method of monitoring and analysis for chemical hazards to health and follow the guideline on method of monitoring. So this is the responsibility of the employer. And in regulation 26(2), monitoring shall be repeated at the interval of not more than 6 months if an employee is exposed or likely to be exposed to chemical hazards to health listed in Schedule 2. So I will give a copy on Schedule 2 to all of you. So let's say the workers in company A listed or have a symptom of having exposure to chemical, then the employer shall ensure that the monitoring should be conducted not less than 6 months after the company knows that the workers has been exposed. Okay, regulation 26(3) and the monitoring of exposure, or I always call as chemical exposure monitoring, shall be conducted by a hygiene technician, which is all of you. And regulation 26(4), the type of monitoring records to be kept by employers is at least 13 years when the hygiene technician go to conduct a monitoring, and then the result of the monitoring should be kept by the employer for at least 30 years. Okay, this is the roots of identifying method of sampling and analysis. First of all of you need to go to the factory to do a preliminary visit to know the exact condition of the exposure. And then you need to identify the contaminant. It is benzene, let's say toluene, or another substance. And then after you know the contaminant, you need to identify the nature of the contaminant, whether it is particulate, gas, vapor, or smoke. And then in particulate, we have several types, which is fume, mist, dust, and below dust we have respirable dust, which is categorized when it have 10 micrometer in its diameter. And inhalable dust is a dust that is larger than 10 micrometer but less than 100 micrometer. And then after you know the nature of the contaminant, you need to select the method of sampling analysis. Okay, that is for 2.1.